Hello, welcome to the Peaceful Woodturner. This is a piece of spalted, I believe, oak, left over from a couple of projects. I just was working on it, making an ornament that's almost finished, and should be posting that video soon, and hopefully I'll be posting this video soon also. I'm going to turn this down into a box. I need to be a little careful. There's a couple of almost cracks, but actually what I'm really concerned about, and I'm also really interested in, is this little spot right here. It's deep inside. It's got some kind of white in there. I almost thought it was like a grub or something that somehow survived through everything that this piece of wood has been through, but it doesn't seem to be. So I'm really not sure what it is, if it's just a bit of dried sap or what. Every time I cut it down, I really don't get a good sample of it. It doesn't survive being cut. So at this point what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by smoothing this off, flattening it all out, and then I'll start shaping my box. I'm just going to make a basic, hopefully lidded box. Nothing really fancy, really simple. Really simple in terms of lines and design. Not necessarily really simple in terms of I'm going to be able to do this easily. We'll see what happens. Starting off at a low speed like I always do, about 500 RPM. And I think my tool rest is a little high for this. That spot. See if I got through it. Still there. And it's gone. It's almost gone. Still a little bit there. Got a nice little finial shaped in there. I'm just gonna smooth some of the rest of this, and once I get that smooth, I'll sand, and then I'll part off the lid after I get the rest of this kind of shaped out a little. I think before I do my sanding on the end, I'm going to shape this down a little bit. There's a little bit of bark and stuff over at the back end over here. I'm going to shape that all down, take the skew and just smooth it all out, and then I'll actually be able to sand the end, part off the lid, and finish out the box. Okay, you've got a better angle now. You can see how I shaped the little finial. And what I'm going to do now is just start smoothing this out. And once I get it shaped with the spindle gouge a little bit, then I'm going to just take the skew and try to get all these tool marks off, or as many as I can. I'm still getting better with the skew. I'm not there yet. All right. Let's see if I can do a good job with the skew this time. Coming in too heavy already. I'm riding the point too much. I need to get a little further on it. Just really getting a bad angle on it. So I'm taking more off down here and not quite as much in the center, which is really where I need to be coming off. I need to be planing it a little bit more. Alright, that's not really what I wanted at all, but I'm chasing something that I'm not going to catch, so I need to quit while I'm ahead. I'm going to smooth this out so that I can have kind of a large base, and I'll part the top off. Alright, a little sanding for the top, and then I can part it off. That was a 220, now I'm going with a 320 sponge. I love how smooth that feels to the touch. I'm just going to hit it with a 500 wet. Alright, that's nice. So I'm going to part it off right about here. I'm going to need to make a couple of marks so that I can have my, my little lip to go in. So I'm going to start with my wider parting tool, and that'll give me the whole thing. And then what I'll do is I'll use my smaller parting tool to finish it off. I'm realizing I probably would do better to come a little lower. Before I do much else, I'm just going to take this down a little bit so that when these two meet, they'll be closer to the same size. Now for my smaller parting tool. Alright, that's as deep as I'm going to go with the parting tool, because I just feel like I'm going to start getting a lot of catches if I'm not careful. And I'm going to switch off to my saw. See people doing this with the lathe running and cutting through with the saw, and I'm not real comfortable with that at this point. I've tried a little bit of it and found that it gets the saw really hot if I'm not moving it the right way, and I just don't feel real comfortable having something like this against something spinning like this. I just am not there at this point. Nice. Okay, it's got a really small lip, but I think that'll be fine. So I'll sand that with the palm sander after I work on taking this down. So I reset. Here's my lid. Now I've got my calipers measuring just to make sure I'm dealing with the right areas here. And you can see that it lines up exactly with this line. So what I'm going to do is start by just taking my pencil, going around following that line. Makes it a little more clear. And then I'm just going to kind of lay it out a little bit darker all the way around. My goal here is to make it so that I have an area that I can kind of keep track of and avoid cutting into. And then I can work on the whole inside without a problem. So I'm going to start with my bowl gouge. Try to take some of this out. I've tried a number of different techniques on this. One of the things I've done is used a smaller gouge to actually drill a hole, and that way I had somewhere to kind of work in and out from. I want to try just seeing what I can do with the bowl gouge, kind of just get some practice with it. That wasn't set tight enough. I don't think it's the right time for the bowl gouge yet. So now I have two choices. I can continue on with the correct tool and get my technique better, or I can switch to a scraper that I know will work, even though it's not really the right tool. So I'm going to keep trying to get better. Okay, I'm making good progress. I'm still leaving a lot of meat here on the edge so that I can come back and take that off just enough to fit my lid. What I'm trying to do is make sure that I keep my tool rest in a good spot so that I actually am getting the support that I need. But that's too high. one of the things I've had problems with in the past is I build up these chips and shavings inside, and as it's spinning, of course, they're sitting right up against the edge, and they give me the illusion things are thicker than they are. I've been clearing them out a lot better this time, but I still keep double checking. Alright, that looks like a good depth. Leave a sizable base because there's weight to the lid, and I want to make sure that things are balanced. So I'm going to just touch up the bottom and sides a little bit with a different scraper, and then once I do that, I'll be able to sand a little. So I'm really close to my edge. Let's see if we have a fit. Almost there. I'm going to go nice and easy. I've got a nice thin side. I really like that. So here's my top. As you can see, it still needs a lot of finish on the inside. So I'm going to start with just sanding it. I've got a 500 grit paper with some oil on it I've been using. Very nice. It's very smooth. Should go together nicely. I love how tight that is. That's just fantastic. That's come off really well. Give a little sanding here, and I've got some cleaning up to do on the inside. So I've got some cheesecloth type material. This is actually bandage material. It's the 4x4s that you would use to bandage a larger wound. I find they're really good for this. And they do snag sometimes, but they just come apart. They never pull or anything else. If I'm using them with the lathe, there's never any pull or drag or anything, because they're made to just kind of come apart if they need to. Alright, that looks pretty good.